Grand Rising. Welcome to Healing Hype Man. Spiritual practices are, or a day in the life of Alvin, all in one shot, right? Um, what do I do? What do I use? I use astrology. I do. I even have my favorite book actually is called Behavioral Astrology. Got my tabs here. Somewhat organized, right? Like the Virgo moon that I am. And I think energy, you should really see it as it's energy that it would behoove you to understand it to help you to guide your day to day, week to week, month to month. I actually have it written my on my kitchen. I have my entire month written out that I get from astrologers online by the day, and I just take a glance at it. So it would behoove you to use some sort of astrology app. If you have a daily astrologer. Um, but there's many different tools you could use. Theplanetstoday.com tells me where everything is, but you also have to understand like what the planet is and what the house, what the sign is, or an understanding of that. Of course, there's apps out there that'll tell you physically, but that's one aspect that I do utilize on a day to day. It'll let me know. It actually will let me know what kind of reading am I going to produce. What kind of like is this going to be touchy? Like I kind of already, and I kind of embody that energy in my message of the day. Um, or whatever transition's taking place. This is being filmed in the Virgo new moon. So aspects that I'm looking at are looking at my day-to-day structure, my routine, being organized, being cleanly. What do I want to structure? What kind of structure do I want to build for the long term? As we talked about earlier, Jupiter is retrograde in Aries, so things that typically expand in my life or that I push forward, like content, for example, or something that I used to do with Drive that used to expand my life is now being pulled back, and I'm revisiting that. Right, that's Aries retrograde, Jupiter retrograde in Aries. Someone mentioned that the moon is on the opposite sign of Chiron, which Chiron is the wounded healer, and it's opposition. It's opposing the new moon in Virgo. So this Virgo moon, very well, Virgo new moon has some healing capacity to it because the Chiron is your wounded healer, and it's on. It's that Virgo. Yeah. So there's just different aspects you can see that. Say Venus is opposing Saturn, so my relationships might not feel so realistic. Um, Neptune is retrograde in Pisces. There's that dreamy aspect. So when my mind is being very weary, I think about that too. Or in a fantasy world, right? You see how I kind of just incorporate that into how I'm thinking, so that I don't overanalyze and overthink things as a Gemini rising ruled by Mercury, Virgo moon ruled by Mercury. My mind sometimes sees the two sides of things, and then I'm at the middle in a paradox of like, okay, now what? Um, what else? Let's talk about confidence, right? So confidence, oh man, when you're able to just walk into a room and not see anybody above you. Um, I just saw live from Shiva Das Yoga, and he talked about this, and I was like, oof, that's deep. So I want to pivot. I want to talk about that. Walking into a room and not seeing people above you, it takes a lot of hard work and practice to see life that way. A lot of consistent repetition of feeling worthy. It's a big aspect of worthiness, a big aspect of being confident in yourself, no matter who's in the room, no matter how much money they have or what level of status they are, and sticking with that, right? That's the aspect too. It's like sticking with it no matter what happens. And from repetition of like looking at yourself, oh my God, like mirror work is beyond belief. Believe it or not, I think that actually, I'm going to put this into very good perspective. I put my face up here. I'm looking at myself, pre-recording this message right now. And do you think that I don't watch this over and over and over again? I watch myself as I stare at myself. I watch myself and how I talk, how I communicate. how I'm showing up in the world. You don't necessarily have to go and post it live for everybody. It has to be in my chart that I have these balls of just posting everything. But do it for yourself, right? I work at my desk. There's a floor to ceiling mirror, so I always see myself working. Watching yourself doing something, like, it gives you that confidence. And you're like, wow, I actually know what I'm doing, because you are physically watching yourself, right? From that second perspective of like, look at me sitting at my desk working hard. Look at me sitting at my desk doing cards. Look at me doing anything. I think mirror work is fantastic. It definitely, we utilize that in therapy. At the same time, look in the mirror. What do you want to say to yourself? And things will come up. You'll look at yourself and things will just come through. But through repetition and consistently doing that, you can build a level of confidence with yourself. And maybe it's, for me, it's knowing how I look when I walk in. It's like, okay, I looked in the mirror before I left, so I know exactly how I look. I've been working on, how I'm articulating things. Gemini, my chart, I use my hands a lot. My face doesn't lie. I'm a bad liar. I love that song because I'm a bad liar. I can't lie. I'm like, what? But I know what other people are looking at, and I think that's me overanalyzing that aspect of myself. Of, all right, I see what they see. Sometimes I forget that. That is the hard part, when I'm in the room and I'm like, oh shit, I know what I look like right now. Right? And especially if I'm talking, and I see people just like staring at me, I'm like, okay, I feel like people are really listening to me. And then the confidence goes down a little bit. How you eat, what you eat, your temple, your body, oh my God. What you put into your body. I was a substance abuser. I drank a lot, over consumed everything, and I still have that capability of doing so. That, my friend, will never go away. And it's just a matter of awareness. And I don't want alcohol. I don't want to do all of that. Like, if I want to smoke weed, it's a different aspect. If I want to do mushrooms, it's a different intention. It's not for the escape. But what you put into your body, what you're eating, what I eat in the morning. Lately, it's been like egg whites, avocado sandwich on a bagel. I don't drink coffee. I only drink coffee if I don't go to the gym in the morning. Maybe I'll drink a Celsius in the morning. But I typically try not to drink coffee every day. My new addiction is a vape. The vape left my life when I went to Guatemala. And then it's come back because then stress load picked up a little bit. But it comes and it goes. But it's all about consumption, and it's all about, we're all addicted to something. So it's just pivoting and changing what you consume, or what you do, and what you overconsume. There's no such thing as truly healing. Truly healing addiction, or any part of you, a trauma, like you can't, there's no treatment for it. You can go to treatment, but truly treating it means, like, I have, a sinus infection, you're going to give me antibiotics, and now that's treated. I think treated implies that it's taken care of, that it's gone. Trauma healing work, it's never gone. It'll always come back. But the more you build yourself and your comfort and your confidence, you can really put that on the back burner. And that part of you, if you do parts work in therapy, internal family systems, that part of you is always going to be there. That part that always overconsumes. And it's more of just being aware when it comes in, and looking at what triggers it. What is it that triggers a night out for me? What is it that triggers overconsumption in things that I do? And it's finding that root cause for it. Mushrooms have helped me tremendously. And I'm not calling them magic mushrooms. So there's this new NYU study that just came out, and now it's all over the news. Because NYU did it. I've been telling you this since 2021 anyway. And so have many other people. I hate the media, oh my God. They labeled it magic mushrooms. NYU has found the ability to treat addiction, treat alcoholism with magic mushrooms. Then they bring on this guy who hasn't had any TV experience. You can just tell, and he says some big words that they didn't highlight. So I'm going to highlight them here because this is my channel and I want to highlight them. He says, okay, this is truly what it does. Magic mushrooms or any psychedelic experience in your life has the capacity to lower your ego death. It breaks down the barrier that you have been carrying, or that this facade, or this like, I'm strict on this. And at that point in time, depending on what your experience is, if you're on a beach, tripping on mushrooms, or you're in a therapy session using psychedelic assisted therapy with a psychotherapist. I say either because most of you won't be in a therapy room, most of you will be in your friend's house or on the beach. And that happy environment, that moment that you are absorbing as the ego is down, as the ego defenses are low, that is where the true capacity, that's where the true healing can take place, because you're realizing that, oh my God, nothing is as it seems. And whether it's lights, colors, whether it's trauma that you heal, whether it's things that you bring up, you realize that it's not as big of a deal as you think. So then when you come out of your experience, you're drinking less. So the key words there from this research study is that it breaks the ego, and depending on the experience you have while you're there, it almost like brings the ego down a little couple notches, so that when you go back to your real life, instead of having 10 shots like you normally might, you only need 2, maybe not even any, because you're just in the space of like, God, life is so much better. Like, I don't need that. You're no longer escaping, because you might have seen what I call the world of in-between and lights and colors, and you're just fascinated by the world, that you realize that you don't need that much alcohol. So magic mushrooms has the capacity to if you incorporate it into treatment of alcoholism, for alcoholics, it definitely has the capacity to help you reduce your drinking. And then at some point, you're no longer an addict or an alcoholic if it's not catastrophic in your life. I think we forget the definitions and the terms for it. Same thing with sex addiction, compulsive sex addiction. I just watched a podcast on that. You're not a sex addict unless you want to quit. You are consuming so much sex or porn or whatever it might be. Your finances are horrible because you're paying for sex or you're paying for porn, right? You have all these things. You're compulsively having sex with different partners, probably trying to escape some sort of trauma, or you've been traumatized by some sexual experience in the past, more than likely. And the sex addict label comes from you wanting to change, and you cannot. So that's you having to admit that, okay, I have a problem and I cannot quit. That's where then the label of sex addict comes in, which is not even in the DSM-5. It's just considered an addiction, the outdated book that I have to read now. And there's just different aspects to it. So be cautious with like calling yourself something or self-diagnosing yourself something without getting an assessment and being diagnosed properly by a professional. But at the same time, I didn't have any professionals in my healing journey. None. Creator, commander, source. Then I went to spiritual events, met with shamans, met with leaders, met with teachers, theta teachers, read some books. Then psychedelics came into my life. So I did the work prior to. Psychedelics was after, and that's where the drive came from. So I hope this content you liked, gave you some nuggets of knowledge. In the link in my bio, there's a link to some books you might like at the same time. My name is Alvin Catalan. I'm present. I'm done speaking now.